Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be working on my 1978 Volkswagen with the DIY Restore. Apparently I did not record any explanation today, so we're just going to jump right in with the voiceover. So we started with removing all of the headlights and license plates and pretty much anything that we could that we didn't want to get paint on. After that we taped up everything that we could not take off, including headlights, handles, plastic casings, whatever you couldn't take off that we also did not want paint on. This was a very particular step. You had to be pretty precise about it, but that's just to get a clean coat in the end. After all the taping, it was time for more sanding. I will spare you the footage of that. It is exactly the same as all the other times. The goal of this sanding was to get everything roughed up for the primer to really stick, and eventually it looked like this. Another important step to remember is to wipe off all of this dust. I also wanted to show you that we used butcher paper to cover the windows and any bigger spots. Here I am wiping off the dust before we start with the primer because you don't want that in your paint coat. There are a lot of hard to reach areas that I had not thought of previously, like the insides of doors, where I couldn't decide if I wanted it painted the color of the outside or what, and it would be really hard to paint with a spray gun because of the interior, which you wouldn't want to get dirty. So I ended up just using a rattle can primer to hit this with some grayish white color because I really did not mind what color it was. It's not something that I'll be thinking about or looking at very much. We also used a rattle can primer for one of the doors as a tryout, I guess, and it left some streaks, so we switched to the big guns. We borrowed a spray gun from a buddy of my dad's, and it went a lot faster and went on a lot smoother, but it was kind of hard to clean in between, and you had to clean it a lot to keep it from getting stopped up. We started with the roof because we figured it didn't matter if it looked a little bit bad, and that was a good place to practice before moving on to the sides. The key to applying paint with a spray gun is to do multiple light coats to keep it as even as possible and to continuously move your hand while spraying so that you don't have any streaks on the ends. Overall, this was a pretty fun job. I was slightly disappointed that there was not more coverage right off the bat because I appreciate some instant gratification. It did take multiple coats that were pretty light to see any color at all. It did take quite some time, so I was very grateful for the help that I had, and then eventually it looked like this. And it was about time to start thinking about paint and colors. I did want to show y'all that it's not perfect, and to me that's okay. There's still little tiny spots like this, which don't bother me in the slightest. Nobody's going to be that close to this thing. So now it's time to think about paint. After doing some research, I discovered that I would want to use an acrylic urethane paint, which seemed the easiest to apply while still being somewhat professional looking, I guess. So I went with a company called TCP Global, and I always thought that I wanted a forest green color, and this is their option. I had a hard time envisioning what these colors would look like on the van, so my friend used Procreate to put the paint colors onto the van so that I could envision it a little bit better. And after seeing it like this, I really was not a fan of the forest green. These are the official Volkswagen colors for the 1978 model. So I tried a green color from here that I thought was kind of cool, and then I also didn't like that one when it was on the van. It seemed a little bit too vintage, I guess, a little too 70s-ish. So then I tried a couple others, including this gray and a darker gray, and then a little bit of a Little Miss Sunshine vibe, and all of these just didn't feel right. So I went back to the blues, which was the original color of the van. I did really like this light blue, but kind of thought I wanted something a little bit darker. And then I had a really tough time choosing between these last two colors, which are very similar. But eventually I settled on this one, which is the Transport Blue from TCP Global. And I also got a gallon of Oxford White for the top half of the van. So I got a gallon of each color, plus the hardener, because this paint is a two-step process. I was actually able to order my paint about 2 weeks ago, and the first shipment they sent, my paint gallons were damaged in transit. So they shipped out a new set, and then the second set that I just opened today also is damaged. It's not completely spilled, but I did send them a photo to see if they would be willing to send me either another gallon so I have some extra, or give me a little bit of my money back, so we'll see about that. So next steps are to sand the entire van down as smooth as I can get it, so that most of the imperfections are gone when the final paint coat goes on, which is very exciting. I need to borrow a slightly better spray gun from my dad's friend yet again, and then sand it down, and then we'll be ready for paint, which is very exciting. Hopefully that'll be happening in the next couple of weeks as the weather cools off, and it'll be a little bit easier to get out into the garage and work on the van. It's been sitting in the garage for a while because I didn't want to deal with having to take all the tape off, re-tape it for when the paint comes. I can't drive it with the windows all taped off, obviously. So once it's painted, it'll be road ready yet again, and I can hopefully go on some short trips with it, little adventures here or there, you know, over the weekend or whatever. It's very exciting stuff. I'm very glad to have my paint in hand, even if it's a little bit damaged, that's fine. And hopefully I'll be able to get this done soon and put out another video of the painting and getting it on the road. Thank you again for watching, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you feel like it. I'd love to have you stick around with me while I figure things out and try new stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.